Welcome to the 34th episode of Cartoon Fight Club. As usual, if you're new to this series, be sure to check out one of my other videos. But if you know how the game is played, then let's get ready for the fight. For tonight's battle, we have the Fairy of the Dragon Flame, Princess Bloom, going up against Sailor Mars. With that being said, let's introduce Cartoon Fight Club's 34th round of fighters. Let's start things off with Sailor Mars. Sailor Mars is one of the 5 original Inner Sailor Scouts of the Solar System, and was the 4th Sailor Scout introduced in the manga. Her civilian identity is known as Rei Hino. Her attacks are mainly based around fire, psychic powers, and spiritual powers. Rei is a Sailor Senshi, aka a Sailor Scout. Each scout has a transformation sequence which grants her a uniform in her own theme colors and her own kind of elemental power. These powers come from an object called Sailor Crystal, said to be within each of them. They were all associated with a specific planet or heavenly body, and their powers often manifested themselves as the ability to manipulate particular elements. Their association with their celestial body was generally manifested in the form of a planetary symbol, which appeared on their foreheads at certain points, or appeared as a motif in their costumes or items. Mars' power and makeup is the first command used by Rei to transform into Sailor Mars in the manga and the anime. As Sailor Mars, she can perform many fire-based attacks. One of her most notorious attacks is known as the Mars Flame Sniper. Sailor Mars uses a Mars arrow to fire a flaming arrow at her enemies. She gained this powerful ability after transforming into her Super Sailor form with the Mars Crystal. Mars is an extraordinary fighter, but she usually fights with other scouts by her side. Though she has been successful during a few one-on-one situations, almost all of her combat experience was formed through teamwork. This will have an effect on Mars during the fight specifically because she will be all alone in this match. She is also really young and still in school. Sailor Mars does have plenty of raw power, and with scouts by her side, she can perform plenty of powerful team attacks, but being alone does limit her arsenal and maximum power potential. Overall, Sailor Mars has plenty of fiery attacks and hand-to-hand combat skills. She works great in teams, but is also really young and naive. Moving on, let's introduce Princess Bloom. Princess Bloom is the Princess of Domino and one of the founding members of the Winx Club, and is also the leader of the Winx Club. She is also a former student of Elfia College of the Fairies. Bloom is the guardian fairy of Domino and keeper of the Dragon Flame. She was the first character to be introduced to the series. Bloom started off as an insecure girl in the beginning of the story, mainly due to her ignorance of her true origins and her strange yet surprisingly potent powers. Later on, she learned more about magic and herself. She grew increasingly curious about her past and whom her biological parents were. Bloom is the Fairy of the Dragon's Flame, so as you can guess, her powers are based on magical fire attacks. These attacks can manifest in the form of fire dragons, fireballs, fire beams, firestorms, and explosions at varying intensities. They are usually offensive with the rare occurrence of defensive abilities such as fire shields, firewalls, and fire barriers of different shapes and forms. Bloom also knows some basic spells that all fairies can use, such as telekinesis, shape-shifting, and teleportation. Keep in mind that these spells are only at the basic level and aren't really meant for combat. The intensity and strength of Bloom's magic is proportional to her emotional state. Her powers are at their strongest when she gets angrier, as shown in A Magic Christmas, where she summoned the fire dragon after Trix ruined Christmas. In most intense situations, she can unleash a huge burst of energy that can even de-transform her allies and herself and break advanced machinery. Bloom can also fly, which will give her a huge maneuverability advantage. The downside, or maybe even upside, to Bloom's firepower and strength is mainly based on emotion. This means that she can mainly only get stronger if she gets angrier, and if she builds up too much power, she can de-transform back to her normal state. When it comes to experience, Bloom has finished all of her training and schooling, and she is the leader of the Winx Club. Although she is a great leader, all of her leading and training is based off of teamwork. This does mean that during a one-on-one situation, Bloom will be a little off edge. Overall, Bloom is a great leader and has many fire-based attacks based on the dragon's flame, but the strength of these attacks have direct relation with her emotions.
And now, let's get ready for the fight. This battle is going to take place on Earth, and there is no prep time. Let the battle begin!
Hold on, I thought you were all about fashion rules. You're the one who's like, when you wear a short skirt, you should really mess up your hair. It's Tuesday, you're not allowed to wear blue today. And then there's your hair. It can't be longer than mine. Give her a haircut. Have you been degermed? I should hurt you for ruining my round color scheme. Hand it over.
The kimono you're wearing in this picture makes your butt look fat.
Mars power!
Fire! 3, 2, 1, go! Ooh, that was intense. And Bloom could have won, but then she took an arrow to the knee. Am I too late to make that joke? Is it too old? Moving on, let's explain why Sailor Mars beats Bloom in a fight like this. No need to beat around the bush, let's just cut right through it. Sailor Mars is hotter than Bloom. Now wait, before you get the wrong picture, I mean she literally is hotter as in fire temperature and fire capability than anything Bloom can do. It's simple science, people. Just take a look at some of these examples. When Bloom and Mars face metal-based objects and enemies, you can easily see that Sailor Mars has much quicker and more powerful fire attacks that melts right through the metal compared to Bloom. At Sailor Mars' strongest, she can be considered city-busting, something that Bloom can't even compare with. The only edge that Bloom might have is a slight skill advantage being older and more well-trained, but when it comes to raw power and damage capabilities, Sailor Mars is shown to have the clear advantage. The best case for Bloom winning would probably be through her dark form, but that needs outside help, something that wouldn't be possible in a one-on-one fight. Speaking of outside help, if you want to see a total war between the Sailor Scouts and the Winx Club, you know what to do. Comment down below the word Total War, and if this episode gets 2,000 Total War comments, there will be a total war between the members of the Winx Club versus the Sailor Scouts. Also, don't forget to comment down your ideas for future Cartoon Fight Club episodes. They may even become a future episode of Cartoon Fight Club. Stay tuned, because the next fighters are going to be revealed on the next episode of Cartoon Fight Club.
I am bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
Welcome to the 35th episode of Cartoon Fight Club. As usual, if you're new here, be sure to check out some of my other videos. But if you know how the game is played, then let's get ready for the fight. For this battle, we have a fight between the Game Hoppers, Wreck-It Ralph versus a Bobo. Both of these bulky villains are notoriously known for damaging other games, but let's see who can do it better. With that being said, let's introduce Cartoon Fight Club's 35th round of fighters. Ralph is a heavy-handed wrecking riot with a heart. For 30 years, day in and day out, he's been doing his job as the bad guy in the arcade game known as Fix-It Felix Jr. But it's getting harder and harder for this guy to love his job when no one seems to like him for doing it. Suffering from a classic case of bad guy fatigue and hungry for a little recognition, Ralph embarks on a wild adventure across an incredible arcade game universe to prove that just because he's a bad guy, it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Ralph is seen having immense superhuman strength. He has shown being able to lift objects many times his own size and weight. Ralph has demonstrated his strength multiple times, such as being able to bring down a building by smashing it with his own bare hands, being able to lift a car off the ground with no stress, and he was able to smash through walls of King Candy's Fungin with a single punch. Ralph also has been seen being superhumanly durable. He was able to withstand multiple strikes from King Candy and his Cybug army. He's also been hit by Vanellope's car multiple times, and even falling off many stories from buildings in his own game. All of this without sustaining any noticeable damage. He's even survived falling a height of over 4,360 feet without taking any long-lasting damage. For Ralph to fall this distance without breaking any bones or splattering like a bug, this would mean that he can survive an impact equivalent to the force of 124 million newtons. That is the same as 3 million tons of TNT. Ralph, being a Disney arcade gamer, makes him semi-immortal. What I mean is, if he's in his home game, he cannot physically die because he will be able to instantly respawn infinitely. But if he is outside his game, he can be killed and he would be incapable of regenerating. Living up to his name, Ralph is an excellent wrecking man. He is capable of completely obliterating buildings, huge objects, and taking down large structures, all of this with brute force. During his adventures, Ralph has discovered quite a number of video games, and in each video game he enters, he has the ability to adapt to the game mechanics of that game and is able to obtain the game's power-ups as shown when he received combat armor and pack fruit. Ralph does not have the best adaptation skills, but he is good at wrecking things. So, not being able to adapt real well is not a huge problem. Overall, Ralph has superhuman strength and durability. He is physically impossible to kill in his home game, but he can die if he is outside his game. Let's meet a Bobo, a bold strongman from Double Dragon and a loving father. He travels many NES games to rescue his son while slaughtering and destroying everyone he stumbles upon. Billed as the ultimate tribute to the NES, A Bobo's Big Adventure stars a Bobo, a character from the NES game Double Dragon in a quest to save his son, a Bo Boy. In doing so, he will fight in hordes and against enemies from across the Nintendo Entertainment System's history. Let's cut right to the chase. A Bobo is a savage. He is a cold-blooded killer who loves to commit murder and eat other humans. Literally, this guy eats children's faces for breakfast. This guy likes to enter other video games, but he didn't come to play, he came to kill. A Bobo is extremely adaptive to his surroundings, and thanks to the similar arcade game mechanic logic that Ralph's world goes by, a Bobo can also gain temporary power-ups based on the game he's in. He has discovered many things such as the Mega Man armor, Yoshi's tongue, Link's tunic, Contra weapons, and much more. These upgrades are mainly only available in the game that a Bobo's in, and they are found where they originate from. Keep in mind, while a Bobo gains plenty of offensive capabilities from these upgrades, his defensive tactics and durability levels usually stays around the same. A Bobo originally is a really skilled street fighter from the brawling game known as Double Dragon. And depending how you view his newer game, A Bobo's Big Adventure, that's all he might be. Because get ready for some major spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Everything that happens in A Bobo's Big Adventure is just a dream. Yeah, I know, right? So the big question is, does this discredit all of A Bobo's abilities that he gains in this game? The answer is a little bit of both yes and no. If we still follow the Wreck-It Ralph arcade logic or any game-hopping arcade logic, a Bobo will still be able to obtain these said power-ups if he finds them. But this is not exactly the same type of upgrades that he finds in his dreams, mainly because he would have no experience with them. So the fact of a Bobo being able to receive the power and strength of Mega Man, Yoshi, Link, and Mario is all depending on if he can travel to these games and take advantage of these upgrades. The most powerful thing he can find is the Nintendo Power Glove. With that, he can do pretty much anything, but he's only received that in his dreams. So it is highly unlikely for him to do this in real life. Overall, a Bobo is extremely adaptive and skilled. He is a true savage and is ready to kill anyone and everyone. And now, let's get ready for the fight. This battle is going to take place in the Wreck-It Ralph arcade, and there is no prep time. Being inside an arcade, these two can travel to any and every game station that they find. With that being said, let the battle begin.
Fight! 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 So let your peace out. Show me some tears when I beat your ass down. No!
I guess that's the way it is, huh?
Not into the pit!
guess that's worth a kiss, huh? Ha! I won!
Well, a Bobo got wrecked, plain and simple. And let's cut right to the chase. The main reason why Ralph had a clear advantage was obviously his durability. Remember that time he fell over 4,300 feet and survived without any significant damage? Well, let's talk about why that makes Ralph extremely durable. Now, the first question is, how do we know that Ralph fell over 4,360 feet? Well, it's simple. We can time the length he was falling, and if you watch that clip, you can clearly notice that Ralph falls for 27 straight seconds. It takes about 9 seconds to fall off the top of the Empire State Building, which is approximately 1,454 feet. If Ralph fell for 27 seconds, it is safe to assume that he's been falling for 4,360 feet. So what does this all mean? Well, the next thing we need to do is apply this to a simple gravity formula. We know Ralph's weight and we know the distance he fell, so once we plug in these few numbers into a gravity formula, we would know exactly the amount of force Ralph faced during this fall. And as I said earlier in this video, that amount is 124 million newtons. Any human would face that force when falling. But the difference is any human would have been splattered like a bug with their guts flown everywhere. Every cell in Ralph's body was still intact during this fall. He didn't break any bones, he didn't get cut at all, he was perfectly fine. Although he did feel a little dizzy for a short period of time, there was no real significant damage. And this means his body is durable enough to withstand the force of 3 million tons of TNT. This makes Ralph so durable that there was nothing in Abobo's arsenal that he could have found strong enough to defeat him. All of the heavy-hitting weapons that Abobo has really only exists in his dreams. But speaking of his dreams, we clearly saw Abobo literally curb stomping Ralph with the power of his dream abilities, such as the Nintendo Power Glove. Now some of you are still probably thinking, how did Abobo kill Ralph in his game in his dream? Well, to answer that, Ralph was never really in his own game. He was in Abobo's game because Abobo was dreaming about killing Ralph in his game being Abobo's game. Did you follow me on that? Did I lose anyone? Well, just know that Abobo can only kill Ralph in his dreams. Which technically means, depending how you see the plot of Abobo's Big Adventure, this episode does have two winners, and it's a lopsided victory either way. Either Ralph has a clear victory, or Abobo has a clear victory. So there's only one way to make it a fair fight. A 2-on-2 rematch. If you want to see a rematch between Abobo and Aboboy versus Wreck-It Ralph and Fix-It Felix, you know what to do. Comment down below the word rematch, and if this episode gets 3,000 rematch comments, there will be a rematch. Also, don't forget to comment down your ideas for future Cartoon Fight Club episodes. They may even become a future episode of Cartoon Fight Club. Stay tuned, because the next fighters are going to be revealed on the next episode of Cartoon Fight Club.